Hello, everyone. I am Amy Carrier, and I am so excited for today's weekly lesson. I have a very special guest here with me today, and I'm going to take just a minute to let this video enter your feed so we can get you here online with us. My special guest, this is his very first time doing a live broadcast. So this is very special for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons is that this is the second in my series of Rockstar interviews. And I'm sorry, Rockstar Entrepreneur interviews. And I'm very, very excited for you all to meet this gentleman today and to learn from him. Hi, Fauzia. I'm glad you're here. Fauzia, will you share this video so that we get lots of folks watching this incredible lesson we're going to be sharing? Thank you so much. And let me begin by saying that you all know who I am. My name is Amy Carrier. I am an entrepreneurship and career readiness teacher, a confidence coach, and I have a virtual classroom here on Facebook called Amy Carrier's Classroom. You'll find the link to that in the description for this video. So when we're done, if you're not already a member, you can certainly join. And today I have a very special guest whose name is Jan Robberts. And Jan is over here in the red shirt. And so far, I'm convinced, Jan, that the gentleman I'm interviewing, they always have on red polo shirts. So I think maybe that's the secret to success.
I didn't even get the memo.
It actually came up in our last live video that maybe all men to be successful need to wear red polo shirts. But Jan is actually dialing in from Scotland, correct?
Yes, indeed.
He is live with us from Scotland. He's visiting Scotland from South Africa, where he lives and works, but he works globally. So he is a very appropriate person for us to be engaging today. He's very globally minded. And there's also a link to Jan Robberts' profile here in the description of this video. I'm going to read you a short bio about Jan so that you can get to know him a little bit before I go into my interview and ask some questions that are going to help you and me learn today. I want to be a leadership guru, and Jan is already one, so this is how we learn, right? So Jan Robberts is the co-founder of Key Leadership Institute. Is it Key or Kai?
No, you did it actually right.
Okay, Key. Key Leadership. Okay, Key Leadership Institute, based in South Africa and Scotland. Its flagship value-based leadership program and its powerful transformational roundtables process impacts the lives of people within governments, corporations, universities, colleges, schools, and nonprofits and NGOs around the world. Jan has traveled extensively as a speaker and a leadership coach, and he has influenced tens of thousands of people. The number is probably even higher based on the conversation we just had while we were waiting to come online. So prior to his current work, Jan spent over 30 years in the oil industry, working with and leading teams around the world. I am so excited to get to know Jan a little bit more. And Jan and I already know we're going to have more conversations after this. And I'm also so honored, Jan, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm excited to learn about you. And you know, the thing that I've already learned about you that is really inspiring to me is how positive you've been and how kind and uplifting all of your messages have been since we met and every time we interact. So thank you so much for that. So welcome, Jan. Would you like to say something to our audience?
Oh, yes, I bet, I suppose. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot to talk about. But no, first of all, Amy, it's a pleasure and a privilege actually to be here. and I've never been called a rock star in my life before. So I mean, I should get out the air guitar, I suppose. But you know, I'm excited about the whole idea. And ever since we started chatting, I knew we had a connection. And you know, I don't believe in coincidences. And you know, Red, coincidence? Of course not. But it's been my actually, and my name is actually Jan instead of John. But I mean, that's okay, not a problem.
Jan, I'm so sorry. All right, Jan.
That's okay. I've been called worse, and but it's so hugely exciting to be able to share what I'm passionate about and what I love doing for a living. And I don't see it as work. I see it as something that it's not even a hobby either. But I mean, once you're passionate about something, you never work another day in your life. And you know, although we do a lot, I don't see it as work. I see it, call it a calling, as something that I want to do from inside, and it was a decision I made many years ago. But we'll talk about it as no doubt as we go on. But I'm just so glad to be there, and I welcome everybody who wants to listen, and you know, it's exciting to get interviewed here and to get asked some questions. So yeah, I'm excited, and you know, afterwards, of course, there are going to be people who want to ask questions, and fire away. You know, take notes.
Yes. I highly recommend that you take notes, because Jan is going to teach us a lot today. So thank you, Jan. I want to ask you a question. Where were you? What was happening in your life when you decided to do what you do today?
Well, to do what I do today, I was actually in the oil industry, as you already said, 30 years in the oil industry, and then traveling around the world. People think it's exciting when you spend time in hotel rooms, but when you spend 10 months of the year in hotel rooms, it's not that exciting anymore. And I knew many years ago, see, I was bullied as a little kid. So at 17, I started my personal development journey and started buying books and reading books and developing myself, because I took a lot of baggage from that bullying as a little kid along. And in my 20s, I already knew that I should be doing something different. And I already said then that I met a guy called Les Brown online first. And I said, if anybody's ever going to teach me how to speak, it'll be Les Brown or nobody. And this is something else that came through. But in the years in the oil industry, I never hated my job, but I actually... Oh, hold on 2 seconds. There's a little kid at the other.
I hear a little one.
Go away.
Well,
it's a life.
Life happens around us, even when we go live. I've learned that.
My little nephew started knocking on the door. So yeah, but I actually was in the oil industry, and I never hated my job. I didn't know at the time that a lot of the work I was doing was coaching, because the way I asked questions while I was training others. But there was a time I knew that, you know, I became uncomfortable in my comfort zone, if that makes sense. So I knew, see, we all want to do stuff, but there comes a point in your life where you either make a decision, it's now or when. And that decision was made easy. I joined the John Maxwell team in 2012 for my further development as well. I became a coach, trainer, and a speaker in the John Maxwell team. In 2013, he asked for volunteers to go to help start transformation of an entire country. Now I thought, if this is going to happen to me, I'm in. And,
wow.
We went in June, and we trained 150 of us volunteered, and we trained 19,000 leaders in 3 days. It was absolute mayhem. But John Maxwell talked about, once you've tasted significance, success will never be enough. And I always thought, well, what is this significant thing is all about? But in Guatemala, I saw it, I felt it, I experienced it, so much so that on the way home, I decided to quit my job. I've now quit my job 3.5 years ago, and I started this process I saw there. I wanted to become a license in this, because I wanted to spread that around the world. It was so simple. And then I met somebody at John Maxwell Leadership Training. I met my partner in leadership training in Orlando in August 2014, and we decided to start a leadership institute. Since then, I've been to Paraguay last year in January. We trained another 17,000 leaders. 50 of my colleagues went back in about a month ago and trained another 5,000 leaders there. These countries are changing, and there's 22 countries and presidents asking us to come. And I said, you know, and whether it's in Pakistan, whether it's in the United States, it doesn't matter which country. There is enough people in every country who are interested in changing their circumstances, their communities, their cultures, their companies, and their countries. What we need to do is find them, train them, and do it together. So once I quit my job, I fired my boss actually. Once I quit my job, I walked away from there and people thought I was crazy. Now, I've never said that I was going to be totally normal, but I see that as a compliment. But I said, I'm finally going to do something that I need to do from in here. And they didn't understand that because I was going up in the world and they wanted to give me titles and all that kind of stuff, but never motivated me. And it's the best thing I ever did, as much so that, I absolutely love what I do. And yeah, I think you can hear that.
Wow. Yes, that's amazing. And I'm so curious to hear, once you taste significance, maybe that'll come up in our next question. Yeah, that's exciting. So knowing that our audience today saw the writer and all of the advertising over the last 36 hours for this show, and it said, become a leadership guru. Can you give our viewers today three actionable steps that they can take to think of like a cheat sheet, steps that they can take to become better leaders or to build their leadership skills?
Yeah, well, of course, and it'll be my pleasure. Great question indeed. And of course, once we realize, because we're always looking to blame others for our circumstances, once we realize that we're all leaders, then the next step comes, because I can combine this with be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said, and people say, well, what does that mean? Well, right. we need to change. For everything to become better, we need to become better. And if we want to become better, if we want to see better leaders, we better become better leaders. And it doesn't matter whether it's a leader of your family, of your community, of your school group, because you lead a sports team in your school group, you are an example in your school or your college or your university, you're a leader. But we're all leaders. So I think first you need to keep learning and growing, not only about yourself, but also about others. Because as a leader, if you want to encourage others to become leaders and you want to pull people up as real leaders, you don't want to stand on them because that's a boss. You want to pull them up. Now, my question is, what are you going to pull them up to? And are you really going to pull them up? Are you going to drag them down to your level? Because some people might be growing faster than you. So we need to keep growing and developing ourselves. And serving is another thing that I think is huge. Because as a leader, it's not about telling everybody else what to do. That's a manager. As a leader, we need to connect and influence other people, not have influence over other people, but have influence with other people. So how are you going to do that? So we need to learn to serve. Because by serving, we've all heard about servant leadership, and that title maybe is a bit overused, the same as transformational leadership. But the best leaders are the best servers. So we learn more from other people by serving them than by telling them what to do. And I think so. So if I would say the second one is learn to serve well, and that might be as silly as making a cup of coffee for somebody, opening doors for people. It doesn't. We always get these big pictures of the great leaders, but when we're all leaders, we need to start somewhere within our own community, sometimes within our own household, to learn to do that. And the third thing I would say is giving unconditionally, with the aim of serving other people again. If you learn, for me, if you learn to give without expecting any return, and you give, because Zig Ziglar always said, once you help enough people to get what they want, you will get what you want. But it's not, I know what's in it for me, which happens a lot. It's how can we serve and what can we give? And it's not always about money. It's about giving of yourself. Yeah. So if you can do these things, I think you go a long way towards it.
That's amazing. So it's about, first of all, being humble enough to know that you want to lift other people up and they may go faster than you. That was number one. Number two is be a leader who serves. And number three was what?
Be somebody who gives unconditionally.
Yes, give unconditionally. That, I think, is the most brilliant thing. And really, I don't know if a lot of people would think about that when it comes to leadership. So those are brilliant things. And I hope everyone who's watching has written down these three items. Make your cheat sheet. This is Jan Robberts, and he told you that this is the best way for you to step into your leadership role, your leadership guru-ness. So, wow, those are such great tips. And you must have learned along your own journey about these. I know you did not learn this in a book. So, what lesson can you tell us that you've learned on your journey toward your new initiative? You're now an entrepreneur. You and your partner have started this new business. You've got this whole new journey in life. What's your greatest lesson, Jan?
Oh, well, there is a few, but there's many, of course. But I mean, some of the greatest ones that stand out for me that, first of all, to realize, and John quite often talks about it, success is always uphill. And that is nothing to worry about, because so is promotion. So are so many things in life are an uphill struggle. But the thing is, you can go uphill by doing these kind of things. And how do you do that? Is be prepared to fail. As an entrepreneur, you need to be prepared to fail. See, in a corporate or in a system, we are not encouraged to fail. In fact, we are discouraged to fail, because already from school age you get told what you do wrong, and no, you need to do better. Apart from, as we already talked about before, that you don't ever get a second chance to do it right again. But we don't get encouraged to even think creatively. So and if we fail in business, we're always worried about a job and all that kind of stuff. But as an entrepreneur, especially, if businesses would encourage it more, provided it doesn't cost the earth, of course, because not only fail, but fail forward and learn from those failures. I mean, I have made many mistakes, but hopefully from most of them, I have not all of them, but hopefully from most of them, I have learned. And the other thing is, the mindset of an entrepreneur is very different than that of an employee, because as an employee and even in so many trainings and all the kind of stuff we do, we get told what to think. Now, as an entrepreneur, that's not going to happen. Nobody's going to rattle your cage in the morning. You need to get up and you need to do this and that. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I had to learn, to be honest. Yeah. Even though I was doing a lot of stuff and I was quite motivated for myself, but to actually learn to think like a businessman, learn to think for myself, plan ahead, do all those kind of things. I think that was probably in overall, learn to fail forward, learn from your mistakes, but especially get that mindset of where you are now the boss, you're your own boss, and you need to start thinking like a boss. So start thinking about all the things you need to do. Entrepreneurism doesn't just come by accident. It comes by intentionality.
Yes, and I love that. Think like a boss. So do you have one piece of advice or guidance? How does someone think like a boss?
Well, it needs a mindset change, of course, because somebody once said to me, I do coaching workshops as well, and I say, once we come out of school, especially, and there's nothing wrong with school, it has a purpose. There is something wrong with the education system, as we already discussed as well, but yes, we don't get to think anymore, because we get told what to do as a child, we get told what to do in school, we get told what to do in business, sometimes how to do it, and then we go to training courses, and heaven forbid, if they're still old-fashioned, we still get told what to do. Right. So now we need to go from what to do to how to do it, because if we get told what to do all the time, why do we have to think anymore? And that is the bit thinking. I think George Bernard Shaw said it. 2% of people think, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. Because we want everybody to be. See, we're not going to develop until we start to become creative. So we actually need to start thinking again. And as an entrepreneur, that mindset has to change from, because, and don't make any mistake, because we often make a mistake that mental activity is thinking. Mental activity is not thinking. So we need to make sure that we start really thinking. So from the mindset of having been told what to do all the time to doing what you need to do to become successful as an entrepreneur. And yes, you can get some of it out of books, but I would say, go to YouTube, look at successful entrepreneurs and listen to them. Listen, there is plenty of lessons on YouTube now with the modern age. There's so much you can find on how you can do this, but there is courses available. But you need to start thinking differently than you have before, because it's another famous saying, but if you want different results, in short, you better start doing things differently, because if you keep doing the same thing all over, like the education system, and you want different results, you're on the wrong track.
Yeah, that was Einstein's quote, right?
Yeah, indeed.
The definition of insanity.
Yeah, he says it a bit more eloquently than that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And I wrote this on the screen that it's really a mindset change. Um, and I'm sure that there are a lot of students. By the way, those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. Please take a moment to share this video so that we get some more people learning from Jan right now today. Hello, Arthi from South Africa.
Partner.
Your partner, yeah, that's amazing, wonderful. So Jan, it's changing your mindset. It's thinking like a leader, you said, and I love that. I would love for someone watching to actually take notes, and sometimes we have viewers who take notes and then put them in the comments for everybody else to see. So please do that. So what is your value-based leadership program? And what is the role that you play within it? I mentioned this when I introduced you, but what actually is it?
Well, as I said already, that it's the process that values-based leadership. It's actually a self-development program in groups, in small groups, but it's the most powerful yet most simple process I've ever seen. And Amy, don't we always do this? Anything that's simple, we as humans make it difficult and complicated.
Yes,
you know,
that happens.
But this process, it is a game changer. I mean, I talk about leadership, and yes, we can give you all kinds of beautiful, wonderful leadership processes, and some organizations just tick the box because they need leadership, yet leadership is, I even go outside the picture, but it's bigger than that. It's that big. So they tick the box and they don't even know what to do. But I tell these people, these CEOs, that says, would you buy a house in a swamp without a foundation? No, nobody would do, of course. But I said, that's exactly what you do if you just go to leadership. Because leadership worldwide is failing because of lack of values. And you don't have to look at the top, because as I said, remember, we're all leaders. How good are your values? But basically, everything, and it's in sports, it's in religion, it's in politics, dare I say, it's in so many different areas. In every area is because of lack of values. Then doesn't it make sense that we bring basic common values back in to the leadership level as a foundation? So there was the late Dr. Miles Monroe talked about the power of character in leadership. There is a book came out about return on character, where they found out that organizations where the exco team, not only the CEO, the exco team worked with character, so values, principles, and ethics, were up to 5 times more profitable than those that didn't. Now, there's the reason. The process is simple. Arthi and me both, we are the only ones in Africa who are licensed to train and certify facilitators. It's a trainer-trainer process. So it's 45 weeks of basic values. And we don't teach values. I call it a reawakening of the awareness of values. And we always do, as a demonstration, we do listening. We show listening. And how many people think they actually, even online today, how many people actually think they listen really well? And if you knew what listening really was, and as a coach, you know that very well, how many people actually do listen? Or are they only hearing? Are they already formulating their own next question, and they're in the starting blocks, that as soon as somebody stops their next, they're in there? So most people don't even do that, but it's a simple way to show that we don't really know our values. That's so right. What is so powerful about it, it's not just, they call it values-based leadership, but it's personal development. And really, when we're all leaders, we need to keep developing. I already mentioned this. So what better way than sit in groups? Now we don't only learn, because we talk about ourselves, now we don't only learn about ourselves, we learn from other people, we learn about other people, we share successes together. And really, what I think what all people want is not the titles, not just, yes, many people want a lot of money, but people want to be valued, honored, and respected as human beings. But how can we do that when we don't understand each other? I mean, I see it in the Western world here. I mean, we still have problems between the Catholics and the Protestants in the west coast of Scotland and Glasgow, especially, and Ireland. We have these things about when we talk about Muslims, and I talk with Nauman as well, as somebody wanted to come to Pakistan and says now Muslims are terrorists. It's not true. But how much do we do to actually understand each other? How much? So by sitting around the table, now we start to understand each other for the first time ever. And leadership is influence, so we have influence with each other, and we need to communicate better. But communication is dying because of everything that happens with modern technology. The president of the John Maxwell team, Paul Martinelli, doesn't call them teenagers, he calls them screenagers, which I love, actually. But I mean, we are losing the act of communication, and communication has already caused world wars and all kinds of political differences and fights, on whether it's on television or anywhere else, even in family life. Now we don't communicate anymore. So to bring families together, to bring corporates together, to bring churches together, sit around the tables and discuss common values every week. We do this, and as I say, it's a flagship because it's the most powerful way to change a culture of a family, a community, an organization, and as I said earlier, entire countries.
Wow. And these are the round tables you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah, we do this, with a table. Every week is a process, about half an hour a week with about 5 people. And if you have an hour a week as an organization, it's 10 people. But the good thing is we train the trainer. So we train roughly 20% of our organization's people. We are licensed to certify these people. We train them in half a day to a day, and up to 100 in one day. And we train them to become facilitators. So they already become leaders in a way. And then we want them to encourage other ones to become facilitators. So leaders training leaders, training leaders. It's the most simplest and stealth way of leadership, but it's the most powerful one I've ever seen, because every time you mention leadership to people, they go, oh, I don't need leadership, not for me. But personal development is for everybody,
It's true. So what do you think that resistance is to being a leader?
A lot of leadership has got a bad name. About rap, because leaders are always in the limelight, and especially, I mean, they don't look as much at people like in the cycling industry and at the cycling sports and all the other ones where we've heard in the last few years some disastrous things going on, but they look always and mostly at political leaders, and they blame them for everything that goes wrong. So if they don't understand what happens in the political arena, and they know there's corruption, there's bad things happening. Bad things happen everywhere, in corporate as well as politics, but some bosses are still autocratic bosses, and they're leaders, so they don't like them. So why should we become leaders? Why should we have that kind of leadership when we don't like what we're seeing? And that's what I'm saying. If you don't like what you see, what are you going to do about it? Don't blame others for what's going wrong. Right. So make sure what you do is right, and help other people to do the same.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I hadn't actually thought about that leadership has a bad name, right? So maybe people just say, forget it, I'm not going to do that because it looks like it's not a good place to be. Wow.
No, but I also have people saying to me, oh, I don't need any leadership because I've been in a leadership position. I don't need any training because I've been in a leadership position for many years. I thought, well, if you think you know all you can, and it says I've got a long way to go, I'm a daily learner. Then if you think you know all there is to know, or that you don't need anymore, then you're in trouble. And that's the same with values. If you score yourself a 10 on any values, because you rate yourself as well in this system, if you score yourself a 10 on a value, you're in trouble, because once you're at the plateau, there's only one. You never stand still. You go up or down. And although success is uphill, everything else is downhill.
Yeah. And I would imagine if you've tried and failed, some people would just say, okay, well, I can just roll downhill.
Yeah, I've tried. And I love people who try and fail. You see, it's better to have tried and failed than never to have tried at all. But what happens after? See, failure is not final. Leaders and success, like Brian, what do you call him? Virgin boss. And so many people like him, they still fail every year on different things, but they fail forward because they know failure is part of the process. See, someone said, you don't drown by falling in water, you drown by staying in it. So it's my mentor Les Brown also said, if you fall down, make sure you fall on your back, because when you can look up, you can get up. And it's about the getting up. A Japanese saying, fall down 7, get up 8.
Get up 8.
And there we are.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wow. So from all of this, you've given, and I hope someone is taking notes here so that you can share it in the comments with everybody else. You've given so many tips, and I kind of feel like if you could put them together in a recipe for success. So a lot of our viewers are from Pakistan, UAE, India, Asia. I mean, they're from everywhere in the world. And a lot of them don't have the opportunities that you and I may have, right? So
No.
what is the recipe for success that you can put together for someone who doesn't have maybe some of the assets that you and I have when we wake up in the morning?
One of the first things I think people should realize is that, and this is actually a book by Simon Sinek about it, find your why. Now, what are you passionate about? What do you really want to do in life? Because success and significance is a very thin line. Now, success is for yourself, but significance is for others. But if you want to be successful, you better find out what you love to do, because if you do something and you're successful in it and you're miserable, and so many people who become very successful inside because they did was successful to walk over other people. But really, we can all find out what it is, what we're passionate about. And if you get a chance to read that book, Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, he's just put a follow-up book on that as well. But it is so important that you know why you get up every morning. Because if you want to become successful and go back to entrepreneurship, if you want to be an entrepreneur rather than get woken up by the alarm clock because you need to go and work for a boss, you better find out what it is you're happy with and what you aim to do. And then ask great questions about the subject you're really passionate about, the things you're really passionate about. Start asking really good and open-ended questions on people so you can learn from them. So find out what your why is, and then find out as much as you can about it. You know, talk to people who are successful. I would also say read positive and uplifting material and surround yourself with the kind of people you want to become so you can learn from them. You know, because a guy once said there is 3 things that govern your success in life: the things you hear, the things you read, and the people you associate with. And then somebody else says, you know, that you are going to be like the 5 closest people to you. So you bet if you don't see what you like, if you don't like what you see, sorry, then you better start surrounding yourself with other people. But you know, if these are little snippets of that, but you need to actually surround yourself with the people you aspire to be like. Ask them the questions. See, a lot of people think that leaders are unapproachable, but leaders and successful people are more approachable than you think if you treat them with respect, of course, and you respect their time. So if you get a chance to speak to somebody you aspire to, go with a good list of questions and actually listen to them. So reading positive and uplifting material changes your mind, because there is a lot of garbage in everybody's head, and I had a lot when I was I needed to really work on that. But you need to sweep that. You need to do a spring cleaning there as well as sweep it out. So read positive material. But another thing, as a recipe for leadership success, I would say, is grow people around you. See, in martial arts, I found this out, and I've been an instructor for many years, but I learned more from teaching than from actually taking part, because it showed me mistakes. I mean, if one person makes a mistake, it's probably them taking it wrong. But if half the class do something wrong, I'm not explaining things right. And I think as a leader, you also need to learn not only from your mistakes and from other mistakes, but you need to know to express properly what you need to communicate properly with your people, and you know, have patience with it. But I think that the biggest, and that is a success, because if you just do it for yourself, what are you going to do when you're done? What are you going to do when you get there? But if you are busy inspiring other people and lifting them up, because that is leadership. You know, a good leader knows the ways, goes the way, and shows the way. And so what it means is, and that's the difference between managers and leaders, what it means is that leaders actually start picking others up. And then real good leaders, there's a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership, real good leaders help other leaders to go past them. And so many people are scared of the job, because if they do that, will they lose their job? I say no. If they do that, that person should never lose their job, because if they've got the ability and the humility to help other people to go past them, they should always be in that job, because they're invaluable to any organization, because most people don't do it. yourself with good people and grow other people around you, because that's your ultimate leadership.
That is the ultimate leadership. Wow. These are such great tips. And I love the one that's up on the screen right now is grow the people around you. I think that it's brilliant because you, as you said before, and I've heard this, we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? So if you can't control, if you can't find a way to be around, Oprah or Barack Obama or, anybody else in the world, how can you grow others to help lift up the people who are those 5 people around you, right? I think
Indeed.
that's brilliant.
And again, if those 5 people, if you can't uplift them, see, and I mean, I have so many of these, because Les Brown is a personal mentor of mine and he's full of quotes, but he said, if you can't lift the people around you up, for God's sake, don't let them drag you down. And that's something you need to, because sometimes change is tough, but change has to come, because if you are not where you are where you are right now is because of the choices you made in the past. Yes. So if you want to be in a different place tomorrow, you better start making different choices.
That's right. Exactly.
So we need to do these kind of things, and to grow people around you is something that is going to be the most satisfying, because you don't want to be a one-man show and when you die, everything dies around you. You want to, if you want to leave a legacy and want to really make a real difference, you better take an awful lot of people with you.
That's right. I love that idea of making a legacy. So how many of us actually think about what our legacy is? That's a brilliant tip. So I'm also curious, and by the way, those of you who are watching, thank you for being here. Please hit the share button so that we can get some more people in here, because in just about 5 minutes or maybe 7 minutes, we're going to take some live questions from the audience. So you want to be here for that and list your questions in the comments. I'm curious, what is the goal that you personally have for yourself right now, Jan? What are you working toward?
I'm working. I mean, I've always got more than one goal. I have a few goals, but one of the great goals, and it's not my personal goal, is Artie, who's one of the 5 people around me who builds me up and does wonderful things because of the depth of insight of people and everything else he's got. So I'm surrounded by some wonderful, amazing people. But what our goal is, because values-based leadership is our flagship, we are going to put 20,000 people in a stadium next year in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and we're going to train 20,000 facilitators in one day, because we know that when that day comes, and it'll be the start of transformation of yet another country, and it cannot be stopped. And Johannesburg will be one. And we want to do this not only in different cities in South Africa, but in different countries, not only in Africa, but anywhere at all, that we can make an impact, because we always say impact before profit. And we go back to that, if you make enough impact, profit will come. And I think that's another thing in the mindset. If money is the most important thing, the love of money is the most important thing, you better start rethinking again, because once you do, and it might not come as quickly and as easily as you will, but once you start helping enough other people, you will see things changing in your life that you never dreamt about. And I know, I mean, we've been in a place where we train 19,000 leaders. We see change there. I mean, by the end of this year, probably 1 million people in Guatemala have gone through this system. Already 125,000 people in Paraguay have gone through this training. We know it's not just a possibility, it's not just a probability, it's something that's definitely going to happen. And that is a huge goal in the next year. And our goal, and my goal as well, is to change and positively impact millions of people around the world. That'll keep me going for a while.
Yes, that's an incredible goal. So what can our viewers do to help you achieve that goal?
Well, I mean, to achieve that goal, I have thought about things like that before, and what can other people do? Of course, they can support us and join us on our vision. Values-based, if they want to know more about it, we can send them an overview of the values-based leadership, how transformation really is going to happen. But the very best way to support me for you to do whatever it takes to know yourself, to grow yourself, and to grow others. You know, we need more like-minded people, and not just students, not just older people. I mean, anybody of all ages. We need more people who are intentional about making a difference, not only in their own lives, but in their families and their communities. And that to me will be one of the greatest gifts, because when you become better, and as I say, be the change you want to see in the world, your world will become better. And that's when you play it forward to others. So for me, the biggest thing you can do is not just to say, okay, I've become better about something that I've heard today, and I hope so, that you've taken something home that you can, and if not, there's plenty more where that came from, but it takes longer than an hour. But also for you to actually go and play this forward, so you are actually impacting other people by you becoming a better person. That for me is a bigger gift than you could ever give anybody.
Wow. So people can help you by helping themselves, and then the change they want to see in the world.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. And that's, you know, what you said very early on was, to be a good leader, you want to help others. And I have you here for this live video right now so that people can learn from you. And this point in the interview where I say, okay, Jan, what can we do to help you? And you're saying, you can help me by helping yourself. So that is an example right there of what you're talking about. Lift others up. That is what a leader does. That is what a true leader does. And you just demonstrated it beautifully. That's wonderful. Thank you. So I want to ask those of you who are here watching us live right now, I'm going to put your questions on screen in just a minute. And I see lots of comments. People are loving this. They aren't necessarily asking questions yet. They're just saying this is awesome. And Arthi is sharing lots of comments. So you definitely have an amazing partner here.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Arthi. Yeah. How are you? So what would you like to say, kind of as a final word, before we go into the questions from the audience?
Yeah, that's a good question. Before the end, I mean, for me, see, leadership is an amazing subject. It is quite often very misunderstood, and that's why another reason I think that people don't like it, because they don't think they need it, and yet we're all leading, so we all need to be improvers. And leadership for me is much more that self-development, and it goes much further than family life, communities, and organizations. And I think we will impact entire countries. But for this to happen, we need to collaborate, we need to partner, and we need to do things together. And there's been a huge emphasis on the environment and how we can save the environment. And there used to be a time that we needed to save the whales. And don't get me wrong, I believe we need to have an environment where our children and children's children can live in without having gas masks and all the other kind of stuff. But do we ever wonder, what kind of people are we going to put in that environment? Because we spend so much time on that subject, which is necessary, but how much time are we spending on not only developing but redeveloping the education system, so the youth that's going to go and live in that environment when we are gone are going to well prepare everything else, that they can actually live on this planet in a much better way than some of our people. So we need to build better people, you know. And what I do, and I do want people to have hope. I do want them to have purpose. I do want them to have passion. And I want people to feel significance in their life, because, and I'm looking directly at you and at everybody in the screen, you matter. Your life matters. See, never ask what others can do for you. And it's it's American slogan from the war, what you can do for others. But what is important is not the amount of years in your life, but the amount of life in your years. And actually, on your deathbed, looking back, you don't want to look back and say, you know, I wish I had, because the time is now. We have no 9 lives, we're not cats, but you need to know that you all matter, and for you to have the best life possible is up to the only person you see in the mirror in the morning, and that's you. So I think that we need to develop not only our adults, but we need to develop our youth, provide them with the skills and that they may become great leaders of tomorrow. And how we will do that? Together. And it's only together that we can make a real difference in this world and for our future, for the future of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. So I urge you, let's do this together. We become so insular and all on our own, but I think leadership is not about one person. We need to go from me to we. We need to actually start working together. It's a global. Now look at this. As you said, we have so many. Amy, we've got so many people on this line from all different countries. So I always say we're only one email, one phone call, one Skype call, one plane flight away from everybody else. So why do we have to say, oh, it doesn't affect us? It affects all of us. When people are miserable, when people are dying because we cannot do anything, because we don't do enough, and we cannot go and do things in other countries necessarily, all of us, but we can at least do our bit to make sure that our family are okay, that our community thrives, that people around us. See, if every one of us works in our community, all communities will be better, all countries will come better, and there will be less misery about. And that's what I'm hoping for, that once we start working together on a good cause for humanity and to make sure that we are building and impacting people to become better, then we will succeed.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And I put some of your words up on the screen, so make sure you all take notes. And we have one question here, which I'm going to put up on the screen, Jan, and that is from Fauzia, who is a faithful member of this classroom. And she says, how can we develop interest of the general public to become entrepreneurs?
A very good question, because it is, see, when you go to the younger generation, I think there's many more of the younger generation now and the millennials and who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, because the older generation, especially the baby boomers, they would work longer, they would be in a job forever, and as long as they got an extra bit of pay and a bit of promotion every now and then, and hopefully they had a job for life, it was okay. But it's not okay anymore now, because as I said, I don't know if it was on the call or before, but 65% of the youth who still have to go to school for the first time will have a job that doesn't exist yet. So there is a lot, I think by default, there is more people now looking at becoming entrepreneurs. I mean, we're actually with Arthi and a few people in America and even in Ireland, we're actually putting a program together at the moment, an online program for entrepreneurs to learn the skills and the ins and outs of entrepreneurism. That includes leadership, that includes finances and everything that goes with it. But a friend of mine has got an entrepreneur school, and she actually teaches entrepreneurism in school. And I think it's something we don't get taught, because simply the main reason is that when we roll out of school, we are taught to be employees. And so we've already got that mindset, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So to get an interest, I think there's a lot of people who have no interest in entrepreneurism, and doesn't matter how much they think it might be good for them, but they're okay where they are. You're looking for the ones who are interested now, and to bring entrepreneurism to the public. Ask open-ended questions. I think the only way you're going to do this in the coaching world, ask open-ended questions, and ask them, what do they want to do with their life? How do they see their life developing in the next 10, 15 years? Mm-hmm. Do they see themselves, is it possible that you might not work for a boss for the next 10 years? If you had to work for yourself, what would you do? Start, because it's only by open-ended questions to the public we started to think creatively anymore, because advertising tells us what to buy and when to buy it and how to buy it, because we need it, of course, the adverts tell us. But now go in a different route, ask open-ended questions, ask good open-ended questions, and again, it comes to leadership. It's a book, but good leaders ask great questions. Now, how can you do that? Listen to your public. When you listen to your public, you know what kind of questions to ask, and when you ask the right kind of questions, the public will respond.
Wow. That's great. If you listen and if you ask the right kind of questions. And I feel like, first of all, Jan, you're so good at answering the questions that you've answered like 4 other questions. that have popped up on the screen. Yeah. So I already skipped by one because you were answering it. And then here's another one. So Faizan, oh, let me scroll down. Faizan says, oh, well, here, I'll show you this. Sana Sivola says, Jan Roberts, you are great. And so Faizan Ahmed has a question. And this is a question I've gotten quite often in the classroom. And I think that you answering this would be just gold. And his question is, which type of leadership qualities should people possess in order to be entrepreneurs?
Wow, that's a good question, and thank you for it. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of leadership skills that you need as an entrepreneur. I mean, apart from leadership skills, you also need management skills. And I see the difference between leadership and management is that managers measure people, process, and performance. Leaders develop people, process, and performance. That's the most basic difference between the two. But so as you can see already, you need management skills as well, because you need to be able to measure. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So stepping away from that and going to the leadership side, it is so important as an entrepreneur, because I believe that as an entrepreneur, you don't always want to be on your own. Yeah, I take it you want to think big, because think big or go home. See, if you're only on your own, you only have to manage yourself. But we take the question for somebody who's going to build a business and has people. So I can't believe you how often I actually had discussions with my upper management when I used to be in the oil industry about the way they treated people. And the old-fashioned way is when you have people. So if you get funding as an entrepreneur, you might think that you're answerable to the funder, to the shareholders, because they become shareholders, whether it's a bank or a private equity firm. But you are answerable to your people. And the reason is, if you take care of your people, and it's all about influence as a leader with people, if you look after your people, they will look after your customers. They will look after your shareholders. So it's the other way around. It goes that way around rather than from the top down. Because it doesn't matter how much you think you need to give the shareholders what they want, they will never get what you want if you treat your people badly. So I think one of the things is great people skills, communication skills, listening, and I mean, coaching as a leader. I think even it's for business owners, leaders and managers, they need to be able to coach. Because I now know, without a shadow of a doubt, and my great friend Christian Simpson always talks about it. He's our coaching master in the John Maxwell team, but he always talks about it. If you cannot coach, you cannot lead. And I'll say that again. If you cannot coach, you cannot lead. And the reason is because real leaders listen to their people. Real leaders, when they listen to the people, they start asking good questions. And I think this is one of the main skills as a leader. A real leader is about people. It's as simple as that. So if you're going to have people, look after your people, treat them with respect. Yes, you cannot always give them, or no, you cannot always give them. Yes, you cannot always give. No, you cannot always give them what they want. But it's how you actually bring that to them. You know, if you're open, transparent as a leader, and you know, don't say they can't get pay rises yet you drive in an expensive BMW and you just buy a new house and you say, oh, sorry boy, there's no money in the pot. Because you're not transparent and you lose trust. As a leader, you need to have trust. How you get trust? Be transparent. And how do you stay transparent? Is talk to your people. Talk with your people. Discuss things openly. The more open you are with your people, the more you build them up, the more they will do for you. Because the 5 levels of leadership, when your first level, you're a boss, you got a title and you all of a sudden think you're a leader, you're actually a boss. But all the levels going up, it has to do with how well you actually connect and influence the people you have working for you and with you.
Wow. I hope someone has written all that down, because that's brilliant. I got transparency is so important. I got communication is so important. Investing in your people is so important. And overall, leadership is very different from what we've been used to, right? Historically, what we've seen in leaders, that's not leadership. We're building the new kind of leadership, Jan is saying, right?
Yes, yes, and also, you know, I think, I mean, integrity goes with that. But I mean, one more point I would like to add as an entrepreneur: also add value, add more value. You know, if you give more value than people expect, your customers. See, because my father had a music shop when we lived in the Netherlands many years ago, and I mean, that's one of my my heroes in a way, my parents, because they've always had their own businesses, they've always been entrepreneurs, and they built a business here in Scotland from the ground up with nothing. They came with a family of 5 kids, and I was one of them. So I've admired them, and one of the things that was put into me from a very early age when I stood in the shop selling records, and for you young people, that's one of these round black things you used to have, like an old-fashioned MP3 kind of thing. But also keep your customers happy. Add more value than they expect, because a happy customer is the most powerful advertisement you can get, and so is an unhappy one. So, I mean, and bad news always travels faster, but if you treat your customers with respect and add value to them more than they ever expected, you're already on a good path.
Wow. Yes. So it goes along with what you said about transparency. You have to change how you are interacting. And I mean, not change from who you already are, but change it from this idea of leadership that we've all seen in more of a darker light, more of a negative light. And be transparent, be good to everyone, take care of everyone. And I love your reminder. So everyone who is here, and the classroom is filled with people who want to become entrepreneurs, they're building their skills and their confidence. And what you just told them it's such a valuable golden nugget. So I'm going to repeat it. And that is, make sure that you are treating your customers like gold, because bad news is going to travel faster than good news. So make sure you are doing the best you can with your clients, because they will. They'll be your source of advertising, for good or for bad, right?
Indeed it is, yes. And of course, I mean, even your suppliers are your customers.
Yes.
You know, if you exchange money with other people, they are, doesn't matter what you call them, but they are your customers. So, I mean, even your suppliers, treat them with respect. And makes, I mean, the better you, I mean, it all comes down to the better you are with people, the better chance you have of running a successful business, because your business is people.
Yes. Jan, you are getting so many comments that say, they're repeating what you're saying. And I just put one on screen here. Sana is back and says, "Give more than your customer ever expects." Jan, you rock. And I totally agree. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this up and say thank you so much, Jan. On behalf of, first of all, I love doing this. I love it. I'm having so much fun. I get to be the student rather than the teacher all the time. But I get to invite all of my students in. So on behalf of me and my team and the 4,000 plus students in the Amy Carrier's classroom, all of the followers who will watch this video after we finish, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. This went by far too fast. Yeah, I have more questions. Our students have more questions, but we're going to wrap it up because we've hit the 1 hour mark. So on that note, is there some call to action that you have for the viewers, the students who are here today? What can they do? What would you like them to do as their teacher?
Well, I mean, there is, of course, a lot of things we do within our business, and you know, as far from a business point of view, and from the way we serve other people. I mean, if you feel you need help and you need a coach, well, I coach people as well. But does your organization need solutions to their challenges? We provide them. Are you looking for a keynote speaker? Call me. And more importantly, do you want to become part of our global movement to impact the world through values-based leadership? I look forward to hearing from you. And I mean, it's as simple as that. I'm sure Amy will provide you with the details. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any more questions, I mean, it doesn't stop here. I mean, I love to serve. I love to add value to people. I love to hear from you. But I mean, it's been a tremendous pleasure, honor, and privilege for me to share something with you that hopefully has been of value. But I cannot forget, I cannot leave here without thanking Amy for making this possible. We've had a back and forth conversation on paper, and then I finally, for the first time, met her a little while ago through this.
Yeah, through Facebook and video and technology. Yeah.
This wonderful technology, and it's as you said, it went by wonderfully well and really fast. And I mean, the kind of questions you ask, and your personality and everything you do as a virtual classroom, it's been amazing. I've learned a lot myself as well, and I love the way you made me feel at ease, and the way this has gone is largely due to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much. And this has been such a pleasure for me. Just so you know, I will be sharing this video in many places. We tend to get a lot more views after we go live. So I encourage you to check out the comments now after the show if you'd like, and then maybe tomorrow, so that you can see some more people who've been inspired by you and who've learned from you. And to everyone who's watching, you are welcome to follow me. My name is Amy Carrier. I'm Amy Carrier on Facebook. You are welcome to join Amy Carrier's classroom. And Jan's Facebook profile is also listed with this live video today. If you're watching it after, you'll see the link there as well. So you can contact him or you can follow him. I know, Jan, you have other sites. So maybe if you send me those, if you've got a website, yeah, I can include those. And
the Key Leadership is probably the easiest one.
Okay. And that is keyleadershipinstitute.com.
The website is, and the Facebook page is Key Leadership Institute Pty Limited.
Perfect. You'll find it. You'll find it. We'll put it in the comments also. And I just want to say that we so appreciate you, because so much of entrepreneurship is about leadership, and leadership is building yourself. It's investing in the source of fuel that you're going to need to build your business, everyone. So all of the lessons that I've done prior to this interview today about building your confidence are really connected to what Jan is talking about. And to build a business, Jan said you have to have a team, you need to have all these skills. And most of all, you have to believe in yourself. So you have to do the internal work first. And those of you who haven't watched for the entire hour that we've been here, I encourage you to go back and watch this from the beginning. Jan travels the world to share his wisdom as a speaker, as a coach, and he gets paid to do all of that.